It unfolded in an instant, a whirlwind of chaos, leaving me breathless and silent. In an instant, I found myself on the weathered wooden dock, the sun glinting off the lake, a tray of lemonade clutched tightly in my hands. But then, without warning, a violent shove struck my back, propelling me forward. My arms flailed helplessly as the tray soared through the air, a cascade of yellow liquid spilling like a shattered dream. Suddenly, I found myself submerged in the depths of the water. The icy depths of the lake engulfed me, dragging me into its merciless embrace like a ravenous predator. My lungs howled in agony as I fought against the suffocating grip of the murky depths, kicking and clawing my way to the surface, each desperate gasp filled with the bitter taste of filthy lake water. The world was spinning, a dizzying whirl of chaos and uncertainty, as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling before our eyes. My heart thundered, threatening to burst forth from my chest in a wild frenzy. Emerging from the depths, I shattered the surface, lungs screaming for air, my eyes wide, filled with sheer horror. My clothes clung to my skin like a vice, heavy and suffocating, while my silver hair lay plastered to my cheeks, a testament to the chaos around me. With trembling hands and a vision clouded by uncertainty, I scoured the dock, each moment heavy with dread. And there he stood, a figure cloaked in shadows, the air thick with tension, as if the very world held its breath in anticipation. My grandson, Tyler, towering at 6'2", with broad shoulders that seemed to carry the weight of the world, wears a smug face that could ignite 1,000 storms, laughing, oh laughing, as if the very air around him is filled with secrets untold. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Grandma," he exclaimed, a tear glistening in his eye, as if the weight of the world had just been lifted by a mere jest. "It's merely water, yet it holds the power to drown dreams and wash away hope." Beside him stood his girlfriend, Kayla, fresh from the clutches of college, her head shaking in disbelief, laughter bubbling forth as if caught in the throes of a ridiculous prank. They stood there, eyes wide, as I thrashed about, a puppet in a twisted performance, the audience captivated by my desperate struggle. 74 years had passed, each one a chapter in the tumultuous saga of my life. I gasped for air, my lungs constricted in a vice of despair. Thoughts spiraled into chaos, a tempest of confusion engulfing my mind. Unbelievable. The very fabric of reality seemed to unravel before my eyes. But I shall forever be haunted by the words that escaped his lips next. And so, the tale unfolds, shrouded in mystery and intrigue. 2 months ago, I plunged into the abyss of my own making, committing the gravest error of my existence. In a bold twist of fate, I extended an invitation to Tyler and Kayla, beckoning them to share my space for the summer. What secrets and revelations would unfold in this unexpected arrangement? The university dorms, shrouded in the chaos of early renovations, had cast a shadow of despair over Tyler, my only grandson. His voice, trembling with urgency, pierced through the silence as he called me in a panic. He declared with a heavy heart that he simply could not muster the means to secure a place of his own. He declared, with a fervour that pierced the air, that all he required was a mere few months to gather his resources and prepare for the impending storm of exams. I plunged forward without a moment's pause. In the wake of my daughter's tragic departure, I took on the monumental task of raising Tyler, a responsibility that weighed heavily on my heart. With trembling hands I changed his diapers, my heart swelling as I read him bedtime stories that danced in the dim light. I clapped with fervour at every single school performance, even when he took on the role of a mere background tree, my pride unwavering amidst the chaos of life. I believed we were inseparable, bound by an unbreakable thread of trust and understanding. He once whispered my name, Grammy, a title that echoed with warmth and nostalgia. He'd embrace me with such ferocity that I feared my very ribs might shatter under the pressure. He was my precious, my heart, my everything. But in the tumultuous journey from high school to the chaotic realm of his second year at university, a profound transformation ignited within him. He ceased all communication, leaving an echoing silence in his wake, seized the utterance of gratitude. He began to roll his eyes dramatically, muttering under his breath, as if the weight of the world rested on his shoulders. Oh, you could never grasp the depths of this turmoil. every time I dared to inquire about the tumultuous saga of his existence. Yet, against all reason, I allowed him to enter my life once more. In a whirlwind of anticipation, I transformed the guest room into a sanctuary of comfort, meticulously arranging every detail. The fridge, a treasure trove of his beloved delights, stood ready to welcome him with open arms. Chocolate milk, frozen pizza, those fiery chips that ignited his passion. But the instant they set foot in that place, the very fabric of reality twisted and turned. Kayla stormed into the living room, her voice echoing like thunder as she unleashed a cacophony of phone calls, while her mountains of makeup loomed like a colourful battleground. In a twist of fate, Tyler transformed my once serene study into a chaotic gaming cave where shadows danced and the air crackled with tension. They hardly uttered a word to me, except when they desperately sought the sacred Wi-Fi passwords or lamented in frustration that the hot water was a mere whisper of warmth. I fought to maintain my composure. Battling the tempest within, I whispered to myself. They are but children, lost in the tempest of youth. They are engulfed in a tempest of stress. They're caught in a whirlwind, desperately seeking clarity amidst the chaos. Yet, the disrespect continued to mount, an avalanche of indignation crashing down upon me. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows across the room, I returned from my solitary evening walk, only to be met with the shocking sight of 6 unexpected guests, their laughter echoing ominously through the air, a stark contrast to the solitude I had just left behind. Beer bottles littered my antique table, a stark contrast to its timeless elegance, a shocking betrayal of its storied past. In a shocking twist of fate, my cherished embroidered quilt lay sprawled across the grass, tarnished and misused as a mere picnic blanket in the backyard. When I confronted Tyler, demanding to know why he had kept me in the dark, he erupted, "It's not that serious, Graham. Calm yourself, for the storm within must find its peace." Graham, a name that echoes through the shadows, a whisper of fate entwined with destiny. What secrets does he hold? What storms brew in the depths of his soul? The air thickens with tension, and the stage is set for a revelation that could shatter the very fabric of reality. He would never dare to truncate it. I choked down my pain, the bitter taste lingering in my throat. The following week, I caught a glimpse of Kayla, her laughter ringing through the air as she bantered on the phone with someone, the tension thickening around her words. It's as if one is trapped within the eerie confines of a cursed dollhouse, where shadows whisper secrets and every creak of the floorboards sends shivers down the spine. The air is thick with the stench of mothballs, a haunting reminder of shattered aspirations and lost hopes. I stormed into my room, the weight of despair crashing down upon me, and I wept, the tears flowing like a torrential downpour. Yet, I found myself holding back, refraining from uttering the words that would send them away. Not when they yanked the plug from my freezer, shattering my dreams and spoiling every last drop of my carefully crafted soups. Not when their laughter echoed, mocking the very way I dared to fold towels. Not even when they pushed my monthly Wi-Fi to its breaking point and commandeered my Netflix account to plunge into a night of relentless horror movie marathons. But being thrust into the icy depths of the lake, that was an entirely different tale. That was no mere carelessness. It was a calculated act, a chilling decision that sent shivers down the spine of fate itself. Such an act was nothing short of sheer cruelty. Calculated and sinister. In the glaring spotlight of the public eye, where secrets twist and turn like a serpent in the grass, the stage is set for a confrontation that will leave hearts racing and jaws dropping. The air crackles with tension, as whispers of scandal and intrigue swirl around, threatening to unravel the very fabric of society. What will unfold in this arena of judgment and spectacle? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The truth will emerge, and it will be anything but ordinary. And they believed it was a joke, a mere jest in the grand theatre of life. As I emerged from the icy depths, my hands felt like lifeless stones, my body quaking uncontrollably in the aftermath of the frigid embrace. Tyler and Kayla had vanished into thin air, leaving only a haunting silence in their wake. They had retreated into the shadows of the house, the door creaking ominously behind them, sealing their fate within those walls. The haunting melody filled the air, weaving through the shadows like a ghostly whisper, beckoning the unsuspecting souls to dance on the edge of despair. Through the window, a cacophony of laughter erupted, echoing like a haunting melody in the stillness of the night. Silence reigns, a void where remorse should dwell. No apology. The weight of unspoken words hangs heavy in the air, a chilling testament to the unforgiving truth. Not a single towel in sight. Shameless audacity. That fateful night, sleep eluded me, a cruel spectre haunting my restless mind. I lay awake, trapped in a relentless loop, the moment haunting me like a ghost in the night. How had I fallen from grace, reduced to the punchline in the very sanctuary I once called home? How had I brought forth a grandson who found amusement in the sight of my desperate gasps for air? But the most harrowing truth lay not in his actions. It was the haunting gaze in his eyes as he committed the act. Delightful chaos unfolds. That fateful night, I vowed to myself, with a heart heavy yet resolute, that I would shed no more tears, still haunted by Tyler. The echoes of Kayla linger, an unshakable presence in the shadows of my heart. And certainly not for the sake of a university fund. My entire existence had been a relentless pursuit, a desperate construction for a boy who now stood indifferent, unmoved by the very essence of my being, whether I soared or sank into the depths of despair. With a heavy heart, I rose from the depths of my slumber, the weight of the world pressing down on me. I approached my desk, the drawer beckoning like a dark secret, and with trembling hands, I retrieved the black leather folder, its presence ominous and foreboding. Within those walls lay the bank documents, a treasure trove of secrets waiting to be unveiled. The account I had painstakingly constructed from the ground up. Every holiday card, every frantic side hustle, every pension check I clutched tightly in my grasp. Everything, every last shred of it, was funneled into that account, a dark abyss waiting to swallow it whole. It had swelled to an astonishing nearly $96,000. It was a sum so vast, it could envelop his entire tuition for the next 3 years, a lifeline thrown into the turbulent sea of his academic aspirations. For hours, I remained at the kitchen table, my gaze fixed on the balance, a silent witness to the turmoil brewing within me. In that electrifying moment, I seized my fate with unwavering resolve. With a trembling finger, I clicked "Withdraw all," and in that heart-stopping moment, the funds surged into a different account, leaving a trail of uncertainty in their wake. In a moment of reckless abandon, I printed a solitary note, its ink still fresh with urgency, and abandoned it on the desk in my study, a silent witness to the chaos that was about to unfold. Tyler, in a moment of reckless abandon, you hurled me into the icy depths of the lake, all for a laugh. In retaliation, I unleashed chaos upon your future, draining your university fund in a desperate bid for tranquility. That fateful day, you were shattered by the heart-wrenching loss of a grandmother, a void that would echo through the corridors of your soul forever. Do not seek me out. Oh, the illustrious Grammy, a beacon of musical triumph, where dreams collide with destiny, and the echoes of applause reverberate through the very fabric of artistry. With a heart pounding like a drum, I hastily stuffed a solitary suitcase, flung open the front door, and vanished into the abyss of the unknown. I slipped out of the house, the world still cloaked in the shadows of dawn, a chilling silence enveloping me as I stepped into the unknown. The air hung heavy, a suffocating silence enveloping everything around, as if the world itself held its breath, waiting for the storm to break. The kind of early morning silence that hung heavy in the air, a stillness so profound that even the birds, those heralds of dawn, had yet to break their silence, leaving the world suspended in a breathless anticipation. I cast a final, lingering gaze upon the lake, its surface shimmering with secrets untold. The very lake that had once cradled my most exquisite memories now loomed ominously, a haunting reminder of what once was. Amidst the golden glow of Sunday picnics, the air crackles with the magic of late-night firefly dances, where laughter intertwines with the shimmering lights. Little Tyler's giggles pierce the night as I guide him in the ancient art of stone skipping, each splash echoing the joy of fleeting moments. Now the water loomed before me, cold and unyielding, a silent abyss heavy with unspoken pain, like a wound that refused to heal. I did not slam the door. With every heartbeat echoing in my ears, I slipped away, desperate to remain unseen, to escape their watchful gaze. The tension hung thick in the air, a silent scream begging for my departure to go unnoticed. Goodbyes were unnecessary, a mere illusion in the air, hanging heavy with unspoken words. My letter was more than sufficient. It was a revelation that shook the very foundations of my existence. They received far more than they ever truly deserved, didn't they? And I would not endure the cacophony of outrage, the hollow justifications, or, even more despicable, the laughter that echoed in the air. With a heavy heart, I slipped into the worn seat of the old blue pickup, a relic of my late husband Albert's life, and twisted the ignition key, the engine roaring to life like a ghost awakening from slumber. It let out a single shuddering cough, then roared to life with a ferocity that echoed through the silence. My hands quaked violently, not from the weight of years, but from a tumultuous storm brewing within. A tempest, long brewing in the shadows, now unleashed its fury upon the unsuspecting world. I sped away, heart racing, not daring to glance in the rearview mirror, as if the very act of looking back could shatter the fragile illusion of freedom I had just seized. My path was shrouded in uncertainty, a void of purpose stretching endlessly before me. All I possessed was a suitcase, a box brimming with letters, the cash from the university fund now securely hidden in my other account, and an insatiable yearning to inhale deeply without the sting of ridicule. At the first gas station 2 towns over, I slammed the car door shut and, with trembling hands, retrieved my notebook from the depths of chaos. It was an ancient leather-bound tome, the very vessel of my mundane grocery lists, now transformed into a sinister archive of numbers and names, each one whispering secrets of a past long buried. On page 3 lay a name, a ghost from the past, one I hadn't dared to utter in over 20 years. Maggie Wright. The name echoes through the shadows, a whisper of intrigue and untold stories waiting to unfold. Who is she? What secrets lie beneath the surface of her seemingly ordinary existence? The air thickens with suspense, as the stage is set for a tale that could change everything. Our paths collided in the tumultuous whirlwind of youth, both of us just 21, teetering on the edge of destiny. She was the tempestuous spirit, the artist who fled to the enchanting streets of Paris, while I remained shackled in Michigan, bound by the chains of matrimony. Life had torn us asunder, like leaves swept away by the merciless currents of separate rivers. But 2 months ago, when Tyler and Kayla first stepped into my life, I found myself unearthing old photos, and there it was, her address, scrawled in frantic handwriting on a tattered envelope, a haunting reminder of the past. In a moment of sheer uncertainty, I had meticulously inscribed it, a desperate act of preservation against the chaos that loomed ahead. Amidst the chaos, a flicker of hope emerged, defying the darkness that threatened to consume everything. Now, it loomed like an anchor, dragging down the very essence of hope. I called her. The phone rang 3 agonizing times. Then, from the shadows, a groggy voice emerged, cutting through the silence like a knife. "Is anyone there?" "Maggie!" The name echoes through the silence, a haunting whisper that sends shivers down the spine. What secrets lie behind those eyes? What shadows dance in the corners of her mind? The air thickens with tension, and the world holds its breath, waiting for the next move in this twisted game of fate. I whispered, a sudden realization crashing over me like a tidal wave, the raw ache in my throat clawing for attention. Silence hung in the air, thick and suffocating, as time itself seemed to hold its breath. "Is this Judy?" My heart shattered into a million pieces in that very moment. "Yes, it is I, standing before you." It was inevitable, wasn't it? The truth loomed like a dark cloud, and I could feel it creeping closer, suffocating me with its certainty. I knew it all along. Oh, the weight of time, heavy and relentless, pressing down after all these years. What on earth transpired? I halted, the weight of the moment crashing down around me. How could I possibly convey the harrowing truth that my grandson, in a twisted jest, nearly brought me to the brink of death over the phone? Instead, I declared with fervour, "I require a sanctuary to rest my weary soul for a time. I'm finished with the shadows that swallow me whole." Maggie stood at the precipice, her heart racing, and without a moment's pause, she leaped into the unknown. Step forth. In the dim light of my spare room, two feline sentinels lurk, their disdain for humanity palpable, especially on Thursdays, when their loathing reaches a fever pitch. Who dares to enter this realm of fur and fury? In a moment that felt like a thunderclap, laughter erupted from my lips for the first time in weeks, shattering the silence that had enveloped me. And so it was. I found myself embarking on a 5-hour odyssey to the quaint coastal town of Edenbrook, a place where pastel cottages stood like sentinels, where the whispers of quiet bookstores echoed secrets, and the salty breeze wrapped around me, tasting of long-lost forgiveness. As I stepped onto the scene, there she was, Maggie, poised on the porch, draped in a tattered tie-dye robe, her silver hair woven into a regal braid that seemed to defy time itself. Before I could even shut the car door, she enveloped me in her embrace, a whirlwind of emotion crashing over us like a tidal wave. "You look like hell," she uttered, her voice a haunting whisper that sliced through the tension in the air. In that moment, I surrendered to the flood of emotions, allowing the tears to cascade down my cheeks. At long last, after what felt like an eternity, I surrendered to the embrace of rest. Maggie, with a wave of her hand, bestowed upon me the guest room, a sanctuary where I succumbed to the embrace of slumber for 2 relentless days. As I stepped into the light, there she stood, a vision of calm, with tea brewed to perfection, dark, bold, and utterly devoid of any judgment. The air crackled with unspoken tension, yet her presence offered a sanctuary amidst the storm. We engaged in a conversation, the air thick with tension and unspoken words. Or rather, I unleashed my words into the abyss, concerning the entirety of existence. How Tyler had once proclaimed me his hero, a title that echoed in the chambers of my heart, a bittersweet reminder of a bond now frayed and lost in the shadows of time. Oh, how he once transformed our kitchen into a whirlwind of flour and sugar, crafting Christmas cookies that danced with joy. And those summers, when the sun blazed down, he stood by my side, brush in hand, breathing life into the old fence, each stroke a testament to our bond. With a heavy heart, I revealed the truth to her, the dark secret of how I had parted with some of Albert's cherished war medals, all for the relentless pursuit of that elusive university fund. How I turned a blind eye to the glaring red flags, the suffocating arrogance, the insufferable entitlement, all the while convincing myself they were merely the trials of growing up. And thus, the fateful chain of events spiraled toward the lake, where destinies would collide and secrets would surface. Maggie stood frozen, her silence a thunderous roar in the chaos around her. She never uttered phrases like, "Perhaps he didn't intend it," or typical boy behavior. She stood there, a silent witness, absorbing every word that hung heavy in the air. And as I completed my task, she presented me with a warm scone, her voice dripping with gravity as she declared, "Well, now it's your time." In the stillness of that fateful night, I poured my soul into yet another letter, each word dripping with urgency and despair. "Not this time, Tyler." The air crackles with tension, a storm brewing in the silence, as the weight of unspoken words hangs heavy between them, to the depths of my own soul. "Dear Judy, for 74 long years, you have selflessly placed the needs of others above your own. You've sacrificed your time, poured out your love, relinquished your money, and shattered your peace. It is time to cease the relentless sacrifice for those who wouldn't even offer a mere napkin in your moment of need. In a world that often forgets, you stand as a beacon of significance. Your existence reverberates through the chaos, a reminder that you are not just a whisper in the void, but a force that matters profoundly. Once more, the sweet sound of laughter should echo in your life, a melody long forgotten, waiting to burst forth like a phoenix from the ashes of despair. So, unleash your laughter. It is I." As dawn broke, Maggie hurled a pair of walking shoes at me, her voice slicing through the morning stillness. "There's a farmer's market down the street," she declared, a spark of urgency in her tone. "You're coming." The air crackles with tension, anticipation hanging heavy like a storm cloud ready to burst. What awaits you on the other side? The world holds its breath. Once more, I plunged my hands into the earth, resurrecting the dormant garden from its slumber. Maggie's backyard, a mere sliver of earth, cradled soil so soft it could rival the finest cake, whispering secrets of untold stories beneath its surface. And I plunged my hands into the earth, planting tomatoes and herbs just as I once did, a ritual steeped in nostalgia and longing. Once more I found myself drawn to the canvas, the brush trembling in my hand as I embarked on a tumultuous journey of colour and emotion. Weathered wooden signs, remnants of a bygone era, stand like silent sentinels, their stories etched in time. One warned, tread carefully, for the feline harbours deep-seated troubles. In a twist of fate, I found myself donning a colossal chicken costume, my heart racing as I stepped into the town library's charity event. The air was thick with anticipation as I read aloud to the wide-eyed children, their laughter echoing like a haunting melody in the backdrop of this whimsical spectacle. Amidst the uproarious laughter, a little boy, with wide eyes and an innocent heart, turned to me and, with a voice trembling with hope, asked if I would be his grandma. And in that electrifying moment, a surge of youth coursed through my veins, banishing the weight of time that had clung to me for far too long. In that moment I was electrified, a surge of vitality coursing through my veins, igniting every fibre of my being. Then, as dawn broke with an eerie stillness, an email from Tyler pierced the silence of my morning. "Oh, dear subject, is this truly happening? Graham? Or should I utter the name Judy now? What in the name of all that is unholy?" We awoke to a chilling silence, and you were simply vanished. You left without a word, without a farewell. How could you? And what in the world is this note? Is this some kind of twisted jest? Because it's utterly devoid of humour. You shattered it all into a million pieces. Alas. The hour has come to postpone my journey into the hallowed halls of learning. Kayla is seething with rage. How could you possibly be engaging in such reckless behaviour at this stage of your life? It's time to rise from the ashes of immaturity. Silence reigns, a void where remorse should dwell. Silence envelops the scene, a haunting absence where the lake should be, its secrets buried beneath the weight of unspoken words. Not a single thought for my safety lingered in the air. Fury surged through me as I realised the money had vanished into thin air. My eyes were glued to the screen, time slipping away like sand through my fingers, each second heavy with unspoken tension. And in that moment, I struck the key delete. The finality of it echoed in the silence, a decision that would change everything. Maggie stumbled upon me on the porch, an hour later, as the shadows deepened and the air thickened with unspoken tension. A message from the very depths of darkness. With a dramatic flourish, she placed 2 cups of tea on the table, her eyes glinting with unspoken secrets. I nodded, the weight of the moment crashing down like a thunderclap in the silence. Do you yearn to unleash your voice into the vast, roaring abyss of the ocean? A smile crept across my face, a flicker of light in the shadows of uncertainty. Not today. The air crackles with tension, a storm brewing just beneath the surface, as the words hang heavy in the silence, a defiant proclamation echoing through the chaos of fate. We sat there, the air thick with unspoken words, sipping in a haunting silence that seemed to stretch on forever. Then, with a piercing gaze that seemed to cut through the very fabric of reality, she posed the one question that had remained shrouded in silence, a question no soul had dared to utter before. What is it that you desire now? In that moment, silence enveloped me, a heavy shroud of uncertainty. The question hung in the air, taunting, and I was left utterly speechless, grappling with the void of my own inadequacy. I was lost, adrift in a sea of confusion, with no beacon of clarity to guide me. I didn't have an answer. In a moment fraught with tension, we found ourselves compelled to create a list. At the pinnacle, where the air is thin and the stakes are high. Twirl and leap, your bare feet kissing the cold, relentless rain, as the heavens weep in a torrential embrace. Embark on a daring venture. A craft shop, a sanctuary of creativity awaits. Will you seize the moment and transform your dreams into reality? Embark on a journey to the enchanting land of Ireland. At long last, the moment has arrived. How could I ever forgive myself for the torment of lingering in a place where shadows dance too long? The weight of time bears down, a relentless reminder of choices made and moments lost. Never, ever shall guilt bind me like a merciless chain again. 3 weeks later, in a whirlwind of excitement and anticipation, Maggie stood by my side as we unveiled our booth, a treasure trove of paintings and vintage recipe books, ready to captivate the hearts of all who dared to approach. People were utterly captivated by it. In a twist of fate, one woman, clutching a mug emblazoned with the audacious phrase "Don't push Grandma in the lake," erupted into laughter, so infectious that she beckoned me into her world, a book club, a sanctuary of stories and secrets waiting to unfold. Oh, how I held back the truth, the haunting tale that lingered in the shadows, waiting to be unleashed. I kept it buried deep, concealed from her curious gaze. Not yet. The tension hangs thick in the air, a moment suspended in time, waiting for the inevitable to unfold. But mark my words, the day will come. For my tale is of utmost significance. One fateful evening, as the sun sank dramatically, casting a haunting golden glow across the tumultuous waves, Maggie and I found ourselves ensnared in a moment of suspense, watching the tide surge in with an ominous whisper. With trembling fingers I clutched my tea, the tempestuous wind weaving chaos through my hair, a wild dance of nature and emotion. "I think I'm finally okay," I whispered, my voice trembling with the weight of unspoken battles. "You were always okay," Maggie replied, her voice trembling with a mix of disbelief and desperation. "How could you? You simply forgot. As if it were nothing. As if it held no weight in the grand tapestry of our lives. The echoes of that moment linger, haunting the very air we breathe. In the town I once abandoned, Tyler would come to a harrowing realization. Money can vanish into thin air, but trust? Trust is a fragile illusion, ready to shatter at any moment. Once shattered, it is lost to the abyss, never to return. Perhaps, in the distant shadows of time, he will awaken to the haunting truth of his actions. Perhaps, but I shall not be left in the shadows of anticipation. Amidst the chaos of ripening tomatoes, I find myself weaving through the unpredictable paths of feline mischief, all while yearning to seize the life that has long eluded me. It began with a chilling notification from my bank, a harbinger of chaos lurking just beneath the surface. A chilling security alert echoes through the air, sending shivers down spines and igniting a sense of impending doom. A shadowy figure lurked in the depths of the digital realm, attempting to breach the sanctum of the account where I had entrusted Tyler's precious university fund. The stakes were high, and the tension crackled in the air like a storm waiting to unleash its fury. The very account into which I had transferred every last thing before I vanished into thin air. I read the message twice, then once more, my heart racing with each word that echoed in my mind. My hands tightened around the mug of morning tea, a vessel of warmth in a world that felt cold and unforgiving. Since my arrival in Edenbrook, that account lay untouched, a dormant secret. But then, like a shadow creeping into the light, Tyler unearthed it. Or at least he was desperately attempting to. Maggie stood in the kitchen, the sharp blade glinting ominously as she sliced through the lemons, their bright yellow flesh spilling forth. When I burst in, phone clutched tightly in my hand, the air thick with unspoken tension. "Oh." The whispers of trouble linger in the air, a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. She inquired, her gaze fixed on the ground, as if the weight of the world rested upon her shoulders. "He attempted to infiltrate the account," I declared with a tremor of disbelief. She halted, her eyes narrowing with intensity. "He did what?" "In the dead of night. At precisely 3:27 a.m., a shadowy figure dared to breach the sanctity of my banking password. The audacity! Who would dare disturb the stillness of the hour with such treachery? A chilling alert pierced the silence, sending shivers down my spine. "It's him! I'm certain of it. In the shadows of secrecy, an account lies hidden, its existence known to none but the keeper of its dark secrets. Maggie lowered the knife with a deliberate slowness, as if bracing herself for an impending battle. That boy stands on the precipice of a harsh awakening, where the weight of his actions will come crashing down upon him like a storm unleashed. I nodded, the weight in my chest pressing down like a dark omen, heavy yet hauntingly familiar. In a moment of desperation, I believed that snatching the cash and penning a simple note would suffice, yet here he comes, relentless and unyielding. He stands there, oblivious to the chaos he has unleashed, convinced that his actions are justified, that he is the hero in a twisted tale of fate. Maggie, with a flicker of tension in her eyes, poured 2 glasses of lemon water, the citrus scent sharp and biting, and slid one toward me, as if it held the weight of unspoken secrets. Ah, but you see, the tale remains suspended in the air, a haunting echo of what could have been, for you abandoned the narrative before its final breath. I gazed at her, my heart pounding, as the weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. What do you mean? What I mean is, a note. You left a note. What could it possibly say? The air thickens with tension as the words hang in the balance, waiting to unveil their secrets. You slipped away without a sound, leaving behind a haunting silence that echoed in the air. But Tyler, the very name hangs in the air, heavy with unspoken truths and unresolved tension. What secrets lie beneath the surface? What choices will shatter the fragile peace? The stage is set, and the drama unfolds with every heartbeat. He must face the reckoning that awaits him. He must gaze upon the visage of the woman he sought to belittle, only to confront the staggering truth. She possesses a strength that eclipses his own, a force he could never hope to match. Silence hung in the air, heavy and oppressive. Not a word escaped my lips. A choice, laden with unspoken tension. But in that electrifying moment, an unsettling sensation surged within me, igniting a tempest of emotions that threatened to consume my very soul. Not revenge, but a reckoning. Not fury, not rage. A tempest bruised beneath the surface. A silent storm waiting to unleash its wrath. Power, a force that ignites the very fabric of existence. A tempest that sweeps through the hearts of men and women alike, leaving chaos in its wake. It beckons, it consumes, and it transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. What will you do when it calls your name? For the next 2 days, my mind was a tempest, swirling with thoughts that clawed at the edges of my sanity. Silently, as if the world held its breath. Profoundly. As dawn broke, I strolled along the beach, witnessing the sky transform into a canvas of vibrant hues, each stroke of light a breathtaking revelation. In a moment suspended in time, I scattered seeds upon the ground, drawing the delicate creatures to the edge of Maggie's porch, where nature's drama unfolded before my eyes. In a whirlwind of chaos and fervour, I tore apart the very essence of my booth at the market, reshaping it into something unrecognisable, something that would leave onlookers gasping in disbelief. Yet, lurking in the shadows of my thoughts, a plan began to take shape, twisting and turning with each heartbeat. What if Tyler, consumed by his insatiable greed, was still hunting for me? Perhaps, just perhaps, I should deliver to him the very treasure he so desperately seeks. It is I, standing at the precipice of fate, but not the version of me he believed he had come to understand. Not the meek, solitary grandmother who quietly folded his laundry and prepared his meals in the shadows of her own solitude. The rebirth of my very essence, the me that is wide awake. At first I kept my secret from Maggie, shrouded in a veil of uncertainty and tension. I could feel the weight of my decision, the gnawing fear that her heart would shatter if she knew the truth. I had to shield her from the storm brewing within me, to keep her safe from the chaos that threatened to engulf us both. But a storm brewed within her as I requested to borrow her laptop, and the hours slipped away while I furiously typed, each keystroke echoing a secret she could sense lurking in the shadows. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a storm brewed within me, and I finally grasped it, my revelation, my reckoning. A letter, shrouded in mystery and anticipation, poised to unveil secrets that could alter destinies forever. But this time, it's different. Oh, so different from the last one. This was not a farewell. This was a mirror, a reflection of truths too harrowing to confront. In a moment of urgency, I dispatched the message, targeting both Tyler's student account and the personal one he employed for his online gaming escapades. And so, I lingered in the silence, the weight of anticipation heavy in the air. In a twist of fate, he responded in less than 60 minutes, leaving the air thick with anticipation. What is the subject of this unfolding tale? Oh, Grandma, what is this? Is this a twisted game of guilt, a dark manipulation lurking in the shadows? Kayla declared, with a gasp of disbelief, that you've completely lost it. You're trapped in the clutches of an old hippie, peddling your soul's remnants at a chaotic market. Do you genuinely believe you stand above us? What, do you truly believe you're inflicting punishment upon me? Very well. Let the money remain untouched, a silent witness to the chaos that unfolds. But don't you dare play the victim card. It was a cruel twist of fate, a prank that unraveled the very fabric of trust. How could you? You've transformed into someone unrecognizable, a stranger in the shadows of your former self. I gazed at the message, my heart racing wildly in my chest. Then, with trembling fingers, I struck the keys once more. Indeed, you are absolutely correct. Transformation has gripped my very essence, and it's the most astonishing twist of fate that has ever graced my existence. The curtain falls on this exchange, leaving only silence in its wake. Farewell, Tyler. The weight of this moment hangs heavy in the air, a bittersweet farewell that echoes through the silence of our shattered dreams. In a moment of fierce resolve, I severed all ties and blocked his email. As the clock struck midnight, I unveiled the letter I had penned for him, revealing its secrets to Maggie under the dim light of the room. Tyler, how could you? You thrust me into the depths of that lake, leaving me gasping for air, drowning in betrayal. Your laughter echoed in the air as I struggled for breath, drenched to the bone, consumed by humiliation and fear. You ridiculed me, turned your back, and left without even a trace of compassion, a mere towel, forsaken. Then, in a twist of fate, you dared to rob me. Once more, the cycle begins anew. You shattered a vow into a million pieces. You shattered a soul. And I allowed it, time and time again, because I was captivated by the ghost of the you that has vanished into oblivion. But I shall never tread that path again. I have drained your fund, for you have already laid bare your very soul. Do not dare to reach out to me again unless you are prepared to beg for forgiveness, with an intensity that pierces the soul, unflinchingly and unapologetically. Until that fateful moment, let this be the last lesson your grandmother imparts, echoing through the corridors of time. Every action echoes through the corridors of fate, leaving a trail of consequences that can shatter lives and alter destinies. Farewell. Maggie leaned back, her breath escaping in a low, piercing whistle that echoed through the tense silence. Oh, how I shudder at the thought of crossing your path again. A smile crept across my face, a flicker of light in the shadows of uncertainty. Yet, lurking beneath the facade of that smile, a tempest of anguish raged, a haunting pang for the innocent child I once cherished. The very soul who once crafted crayon masterpieces of valiant heroes, affectionately dubbing me Grammy the Brave. Where has that child vanished to? Just days later, a twist of fate unfolded, shattering the calm with its unforeseen arrival. A message arrived, bearing the name of a stranger, shrouded in mystery and intrigue, Caroline D. The subject line loomed ominously. I'm sorry about my son. My breath hitched in my throat as I dared to open it. Dear Judy, the shadows of fate have intertwined our lives, though you may not recognize me. I am the mother of Kayla, a name that echoes in the corridors of our shared story. She recounted the harrowing events that unfolded before her very eyes. At least, that is her version of the tale. But after reading your message, oh, the revelation struck me like lightning. Yes, she unveiled the truth, and in that moment, I knew I had to reach out. I trust you completely, and I am utterly, profoundly sorry. With every fibre of my being, I instilled in Kayla the virtues of kindness and respect, particularly for those brave souls who dare to open their homes and hearts to others. The torment you endured was nothing short of brutal. And I must reveal, not every soul among us shares the fervent beliefs of her and Tyler. Oh, you possess an aura of extraordinary strength and grace, a woman of unparalleled distinction. Should you ever set foot in Portland, prepare for a dramatic twist. Coffee shall be on me. With all the warmth of a blazing fire, Caroline. 3 times I plunged into its depths, each reading a tempest of revelation. In a moment of fervent urgency, I printed it out, the ink still fresh and trembling, and with a swift motion, I tucked it into the depths of my journal, a secret now sealed within its pages. For in the depths of the fiercest tempests, there stand the unwavering lighthouses, guiding lost souls through the chaos. In a whirlwind of relentless ambition, the following weeks vanished, leaving only echoes of urgency in their wake. My booth at the market has dramatically expanded, bursting forth with an overwhelming presence that demands attention. In a whirlwind of creativity, Maggie and I embarked on a daring venture, crafting a line of handmade Grammy Says products. Each piece, a bold declaration, whispers the audacious mantra. Push me in, watch me swim out richer. The stakes are high, and the journey is just beginning. Kindness flows like a gentle stream, unburdened and free, while revenge, oh revenge, weighs down the soul with a heavy toll of interest that cannot be ignored. Honor those who have walked the path before you, for their wisdom is a treasure forged in the fires of experience. We craft the final decrees of fate. They were an explosive sensation, captivating all who dared to witness their rise. In a whirlwind of laughter and rebellion, teenagers seized them, not as mere objects, but as instruments of mischief, a twisted punchline in the grand theatre of youth. Mothers procured them as harbingers of doom. With a glimmer of mischief dancing in their eyes, the grandparents procured them, setting the stage for an unfolding tale of intrigue and surprise. With each burst of laughter that echoed around me, a flicker of healing ignited within, pulling me closer to the light I thought I had lost forever. On a seemingly ordinary afternoon, as I diligently restocked the mugs, a woman in her 52nd emerged from the shadows, her presence both unexpected and unsettling. "So, you're Judy, are you?" I nodded, a shiver of trepidation coursing through me. Her smile pierced the silence, a fleeting glimmer of hope in a world shrouded in shadows. "You have no idea who I am, but I have laid my eyes upon your letter." My eyes fluttered open, a moment of disbelief washing over me. How could this possibly be? The very essence of the question hangs in the air, thick with tension and uncertainty. A moment suspended in time, where answers elude and curiosity ignites like a wildfire. How? The word echoes, reverberating through the silence, demanding to be unraveled. She let out a chilling laugh, echoing through the silence like a haunting melody. My niece finds herself entwined in a friendship with none other than Tyler. In a bold move, he unleashed a screenshot upon the unforgiving realm of social media, aiming for laughter, yet the tides turned against him, leaving him ensnared in a web of his own making. Whispers spread like wildfire as people began to share it, igniting a storm of intrigue and chaos. Some dared to label it the Grammy Manifesto, a title that echoed through the halls of music history like a thunderclap, igniting fierce debates and passionate discussions. My jaw fell slack, a gasp escaping my lips. "What?" With a slow, deliberate nod, she sealed her fate. It erupted into a frenzy of chaos and disbelief. "They whisper your name in hushed tones, the enigmatic grandma who disappeared into the shadows, leaving only fragments of wisdom in her wake." Words escaped me, lost in the tumult of my racing thoughts. She leaned in, her breath hitching in the charged silence, the air thick with unspoken words and electric tension. In a world that often casts shadows over our existence, I must express my deepest gratitude for your unwavering courage. You have illuminated the path for us, particularly for those of us who have weathered the storms of time, reminding us that we are far from invisible. We are a force to be reckoned with. And in that fleeting moment, my tale, my anguish transformed into a force of monumental significance, a beacon of purpose. That fateful night, I perched on the porch, my heart racing as I witnessed the stars flicker ominously into the vast, dark sky. Maggie emerged from the shadows, 2 glasses of wine clutched tightly in her hands, the crimson liquid swirling like secrets waiting to be unveiled. With a fierce determination, she lifted her glass to Judy, a silent challenge hanging in the air. To surviving, I declared with a fierce determination. No, she corrected with a soft yet piercing intensity. To the heights of triumph. As our glasses collided with a resounding chime, a surge of revelation coursed through me. Never before had I felt so undeniably worthy of this moment. On that fateful Tuesday morning, I crossed the threshold of the Edenbrook Library, not merely as a reader, but as a harbinger of change, my heart racing with the weight of unspoken secrets and untold stories waiting to unfold. In a twist of fate, the head librarian, a formidable yet inviting figure known as Teresa, extended an invitation that would change everything. An opportunity to speak at the illustrious Voices of the Elders event. Just a brief 10-minute talk, she declared, her voice laced with an unsettling calm. Something light. Something honest. But somehow, the whispers had escaped the shadows, and when I finally stepped through the door, the event room was a swirling sea of bodies, teeming with anticipation. Rows of folding chairs, a sea of restless teenagers from the high school, parents clutching toddlers like precious treasures, retirees with stories etched in their faces, and a local journalist from the Edenbrook Gazette, furiously scribbling in her notebook, capturing the electric tension in the air. Amidst the bustling chaos of the market, a jolt of recognition surged through me as I caught sight of a few familiar faces, each one a ghost from the past, lurking in the shadows of my memory. Familiar smiles, eyes brimming with curiosity, attention hangs in the air, thick and palpable. The transformation was complete. I had shed the shroud of invisibility that cloaked me like a ghost at the lake house. In a twist of fate, I became the grandmother who disappeared, only to emerge reborn, a phoenix from the ashes of my own forgotten past. "Thank you for coming," I began, my fingers clutching the edge of the podium with a desperation that betrayed my calm facade. My hands quaked, but it was not fear that gripped them. With a heavy heart, with a piercing revelation. My name is Judy, and for 74 long years I existed solely for the sake of others. Silence hangs heavy, a tremor coursing through the air. Once, I was a mother, a wife, a grandmother, each role a thread in the tapestry of my existence, woven with love and sacrifice, yet fraught with the weight of unspoken truths and hidden sorrows. I slaved over meals that went unappreciated, meticulously folded shirts only to see them carelessly tossed aside, and handed out money that I desperately needed for myself. I wore a smile, a mask of joy, believing it was the very essence of love itself. I allowed the silence to thicken, a palpable weight hanging in the air. A handful of souls edged closer, their breaths held in anticipation. But love, devoid of respect, what you call love is nothing more than chains of servitude. And on that fateful day, as my own grandson callously shoved me into the icy depths of the lake, his laughter echoing in my ears while I struggled for breath, a profound revelation struck me like lightning. I had poured my soul into every moment, leaving nothing behind, and abandoned every shred of myself. The crowd gasped, a collective breath caught in their throats, as if the very air had turned to ice. As dawn broke, I fled that house, a tempest of emotions swirling within me. I drained his university fund, not from malice, but from a piercing clarity that sliced through the fog of confusion. I refused to invest in the future of a person who sought to suffocate the remnants of my past. A hushed gasp rippled through the crowd, and I stood there, rooted in place, refusing to dissolve into the shadows of embarrassment. I disappeared into the shadows, desperate for solace. A heartbeat echoes in the silence. That day, my family did not slip through my fingers. My illusion has shattered into a million pieces. As the last echoes of applause hung in the air like a haunting melody, and the crowd began to disperse like shadows at dusk, a teenage girl, barely 16, approached me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Her eyes, rimmed in crimson, burned with an unyielding intensity. "My grandma raised me too," she whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of untold stories and hidden truths. She met her tragic end last year. I long for the moment she could have heard your voice, echoing in the silence, a haunting melody lost to the void. I grasped her hand tightly, my voice trembling with emotion as I declared, "Then live in a way that would have made her proud. That is precisely how she will hear you now." She nodded, her heart pounding, and strode away, her shoulders lifted ever so slightly, as if the weight of the world had shifted just for a moment. Upon my return to Maggie's, a letter lay in wait, shrouded in mystery and anticipation. Not just a mere email, but a tangible envelope, waiting to unveil its secrets. The handwriting on the front was unmistakably Tyler's, a chilling revelation that sent shivers down the spine. I found myself frozen at the kitchen counter, my gaze locked onto it for what felt like an eternity, 5 agonizing minutes. My hands trembled above the seal, a tempest of doubt raging within me. Did I truly wish to unveil the secrets lurking inside? The air crackled with tension, each heartbeat echoing the weight of the unknown. Was it an even deeper descent into guilt's relentless grip? Yet another desperate plea to rationalize his actions. Maggie stepped into the room, her breath hitching as she froze in place. "Is that—" I nodded, the weight of the moment crashing down around me. With a swift motion, she snatched 2 cookies from the plate, her eyes gleaming with mischief, and hurled one towards me, a daring challenge hanging in the air. "Unleash it. If it fails, we shall set it ablaze in the garden, transforming its ashes into a fiery spectacle as we toast marshmallows over the smouldering remains." I smirked, the anticipation crackling in the air. Then with deliberate slowness I peeled it open. "Dearest Grammy, I have begun this letter a staggering 10 times. Everything feels wrong, a cacophony of discordant notes echoing in the shadows of uncertainty. Nothing ever feels like it's enough, but I shall endeavor. Against all odds." In the depths of my heart, a chilling truth emerged. I was cruel. In a moment of sheer hubris, I stood tall, cloaked in the illusion of invincibility, and in the depths of despair, I found myself utterly and irrevocably blind. As I propelled you into the icy depths of the lake, a twisted sense of humor danced in my mind, unaware of the storm I was unleashing. It was a revelation that struck me like lightning thrust. That delicate thread can unravel in an instant, leaving nothing but the haunting echoes of betrayal in its wake. In the shadows, you lingered, a constant presence, haunting my every thought. In a world where desires collide and silence screams, you stood there, a figure of restraint, never once uttering a plea for what you truly craved. And there you were, merely a pawn in the grand spectacle of my life, a mere prop in my twisted narrative. I allowed Kayla to unleash her scorn upon you. In a moment thick with tension, I found myself laughing, a cruel twist of fate when an apology was desperately needed. And I turned a blind eye to every ominous signal, oblivious to the transformation into the very man you vowed I would never become. In a moment that felt like a thunderclap, I have severed my ties with university. Not for the sake of riches, but in a moment of piercing clarity, I discovered the haunting truth. I am a stranger to myself. I find myself in a whirlwind of uncertainty, desperately grasping for the fleeting moments I need to unravel this tangled web of confusion. I'm embarking on a journey of therapy. At this very moment, I find myself entwined in the chaotic embrace of a friend's family, navigating the tumultuous waters of their daily lives. In a twist of fate, I found myself stepping into the world of part-time employment. Desperation clings to my every breath as I grapple with the weight of my efforts. I am trying, but the shadows loom large, and the stakes have never been higher. Alas, I am acutely aware that this letter cannot mend the shattered pieces of what I have irreparably damaged. Yet, should you ever choose to grant me a sliver of your world once more, even if it's just a fleeting phone call or a simple postcard, know this: I will be waiting, heart in hand, ready to embrace whatever you offer. If not, I shall come to terms with it. In the depths of my heart, I must confess I'm overwhelmed with remorse. I never intended for it to come to this, and yet here we are, tangled in the web of my regret. Please, hear my apology echo through the silence that now hangs between us. Indeed, passion ignites, hearts collide, and the very fabric of existence trembles in the wake of desire. Tyler. 3 times, I plunged into its depths. With a heavy heart, I set the letter down beside me, the weight of its words lingering in the air, before stepping outside into the unknown. In the stillness of the garden, an eerie silence enveloped the air, as the evening breeze whispered secrets, carrying with it the haunting fragrance of lavender intertwined with the raw essence of earth. I stood there, unyielding, as the storm of emotions raged within me. I didn't cry. I held my breath, silence engulfing me like a shroud. I didn't scream. I was overwhelmed by a surge of emotions. Maggie burst into the room mere moments later, her hands trembling as she clutched 2 teacups, the steam rising like whispers of secrets untold. With a sudden intensity, she inquired, her body sinking into the chair beside me, as if the weight of the world rested on her shoulders. He fell to his knees, eyes wide with remorse, and uttered the words, "I am so sorry." The weight of his regret hung heavy in the air, a palpable tension that crackled like electricity. Her eyebrow arched in disbelief, a silent storm brewing within her gaze, a true embodiment of authenticity. I nodded, the weight of the moment crashing down upon me like a tidal wave, each heartbeat echoing the gravity of my decision. It felt like the world had come crashing down, a cacophony of emotions swirling in a tempest of despair. Each heartbeat echoed with the weight of unspoken words, a haunting reminder of what once was. Shadows danced in the corners of the mind, whispering secrets of loss and longing as the air thickened with tension, suffocating yet electrifying. The very fabric of reality seemed to unravel, leaving only the raw, pulsating truth of existence laid bare before the soul. Truth laid bare. Will you dare to respond to him? Silence enveloped me, stretching on like an endless abyss. Then I declared, "Not yet. Perhaps one day. But the time is not ripe for such a revelation." For healing was a tempest, a storm that raged far beyond the mere act of forgiveness. It was a battle for freedom, a fierce struggle that ignited the very souls of those who dared to dream beyond the chains that bound them. That fateful weekend, I unleashed my creativity upon a blank canvas, crafting a bold new sign for the booth that would forever change its destiny. It echoed, "I departed to rescue my soul, not to wound yours." That was merely a tantalizing bonus, a fleeting glimpse of what could have been. It vanished in mere moments, snatched away within the hour. Weeks dragged on, and the once quiet town of Edenbrook found itself thrust into the chaos of the tourist season, a storm brewing on the horizon. The streets erupted with a cacophony of voices. Families captured fleeting moments beneath the vibrant blossoms, and the market pulsed with the very essence of the town's spirit. My booth was a whirlwind of activity, a relentless tide of visitors crashing against its walls. Some arrived, hearts pounding, seeking the sweet release of laughter amidst the chaos. Some arrived, cloaked in the guise of mere merchandise, seeking therapy in the shadows of their own despair. In a dimly lit room, a woman of striking elegance, her grey hair cascading like a silken waterfall, held tightly to a mug emblazoned with the defiant words, "Retired, not expired." Her eyes, pools of sorrow and resilience, told a story of battles fought and scars borne as she faced the world with a mixture of grace and unyielding spirit. She leaned in, her voice barely above a breath. "Last week, my daughter-in-law had the audacity to call me useless. I'm purchasing 10. Can you believe it? 10. The sheer audacity of it all. 10. The number looms large, a bold statement echoing in the silence of anticipation. In a moment charged with tension, I extended a discount to her, a gesture that hung in the air like a fragile thread, teetering on the brink of consequence. Maggie and I transformed into an enigma that captivated the entire town. As I walked by, hushed voices erupted in a frenzy. There she is, the grandma from the lake story. But no one, not a single soul, dared to cast me in the role of a victim ever again. I had shed the skin of a delicate, frail old woman, rising from the ashes of my former self. I stood as a survivor, my edges razor-sharp, each tale a haunting echo of battles fought and scars earned. Respect was their currency, a silent acknowledgement that echoed through the air, binding them in an unspoken agreement. Desperation hung in the air, a palpable tension that screamed for release. They craved it, yearned for it, as if their very souls depended on it. The need was undeniable, a haunting echo that reverberated through the shadows of their lives. On a fateful night, Maggie hurled a brochure at me, its edges sharp with urgency. "Cruise to Ireland," she declared, a wicked smile dancing on her lips, as if the very idea held secrets untold. 2 cabins, standing in eerie silence, their shadows stretching long into the twilight, secrets lurking within their walls. "It is I who shall bear the cost." My eyes fluttered open, a moment suspended in time. "Hold on, are you truly serious right now?" Her head tilted in a slow, deliberate nod, a silent agreement that echoed with unspoken tension. Imagine us, whiskey in hand, spinning tales of our lives as retired spies, as we embark on a journey to those enchanting places you once only dared to dream of. The adventure awaits. My gaze was locked onto the shimmering image of a ship, ensnared beneath a tempest of golden clouds, as if the heavens themselves were conspiring in a breathtaking spectacle. And then, a smile crept across my face, a flicker of light in the shadows of despair. Let us embark on this perilous journey, for I could not bear the thought of vanishing into the abyss of agony. I yearned to step into a world ablaze with joy, and this time I was not departing from a shattered soul who endured torment. As I strode forward, a fierce warrior accompanied me, her spirit ablaze with the realization of her own immeasurable worth. The day of the cruise unfolded, drenched in warmth and alive with tantalizing promise, as if the very air crackled with anticipation. The sun blazed fiercely, casting a dazzling light upon the ocean, transforming it into a sea of shattered diamonds, while the ship ahead rose ominously, a majestic palace adrift in the abyss. As Maggie and I stood in line with our passports, a surge of forgotten emotions ignited within me, a spark of something I hadn't felt in years, a haunting whisper of the past clawing its way back to the surface. Thrilling anticipation hangs in the air, electrifying every moment. Not the kind that arrives with the laughter of parties or the warmth of holidays. The kind that strikes you with a jolt, a thunderous revelation that your life, oh yes, still holds unwritten chapters, waiting to be unleashed upon the world. "I packed 3 wigs," Maggie declared, her voice dripping with intrigue as she shot a conspiratorial wink. "One crimson, one gleaming silver, and one that screams I'm a temptress lurking in the shadows of bingo halls, ready to snatch hearts." In a moment of sheer hilarity, I found myself on the brink of losing my precious boarding pass, laughter bubbling up like a tempest ready to erupt. We stepped onto the ship, our hearts pounding, like 2 queens reclaiming their thrones after a long and treacherous exile. Our cabin boasted a balcony, a precipice of possibility overlooking the abyss of the unknown. Not colossal, but utterly flawless. That fateful first evening, we huddled in our shawls, clutching steaming mugs of cocoa, as the relentless sea beckoned us, dragging us away from the remnants of who we once were. My mind raced to Tyler, a name that echoed like a haunting whisper in the shadows of my thoughts. Gone is the fury, extinguished is the sorrow. What remains is a piercing clarity that cuts through the chaos. He once held the spotlight in my tale, but now he fades into the shadows, no longer the heart of my narrative. And that, oh that, was freedom. A moment suspended in time, electrifying and raw, where the very essence of liberation danced in the air, igniting the soul with fervor and passion. The ship concealed secrets that would leave you breathless at every twist and turn. In the early light of dawn, amidst the serene whispers of tranquility, I found myself in a morning yoga class. But oh, the irony! As I reached for the heavens, a sudden jolt of pain shot through my hamstring, a cruel twist of fate. And there I was, doubled over, laughter erupting like thunder, drowning out the calm as I realized I had stretched my limits far too far. Art galleries that shattered my heart with every stroke of the brush. In a dimly lit room, the music pulsed like a heartbeat. And there was Maggie, a whirlwind of energy, spinning me around until the world blurred. Time slipped away, and I was lost in the moment. forgetting the aching void of solitude that had lingered far too long since anyone had dared to take my hand for a dance. And in the haunting twilight, I would perch upon the balcony, pouring my soul into the pages of my journal, chronicling every harrowing sight, every tumultuous feeling, every battle I had fought and endured. In a twist of fate, we found ourselves docking in the heart of Dublin, the air thick with anticipation, and the promise of adventure lurking around every corner. It felt as though one had stepped into the very pages of a tale, where reality blurred with the fantastical, and every corner held a secret waiting to be unveiled. The streets throbbed with a cacophony of music, cobblestones cried out beneath our hurried steps, and the air was thick with the intoxicating scent of buttered bread mingling with the fresh sting of rain. We embarked on a bus tour, a journey that spiraled us toward a desolate, wind-swept cliffside, where the air crackled with tension and the horizon whispered secrets of the unknown. There, gazing into the abyss of the endless ocean, I whispered my farewell, the weight of finality crashing over me like the relentless waves. Not to Tyler, but to me, the me who once stood, drenched and breathless, at the precipice of a dock, grappling with the haunting question of why love felt like a suffocating plunge into the abyss. I breathed my words into the howling wind. You did good. The air trembled with the weight of unspoken truths. You clung desperately, fighting against the inevitable, your strength waning with each passing moment. Now, release your grip and set it free. Step into the spotlight and unleash the moment. It's time to go live. On that fateful night, an email arrived, my final message, shrouded in mystery and foreboding, from the depths of Tyler's soul. Only a single line, hanging in the air like a whispered secret, poised to unravel the very fabric of reality. In this moment of revelation, clarity pierces through the fog of confusion. I grasp the truth that has eluded me for so long. Forgive me, for it was only through your absence that I discovered the depths of my own ignorance. Silence enveloped the moment, a heavy shroud of unspoken words. I chose not to reply. I simply had no need to. In the haunting stillness, some lessons echo with a deafening clarity, their truths piercing the air like a thunderclap in the night. As we stepped back into Edenbrook, an overwhelming wave of nostalgia crashed over us, enveloping us in a bittersweet embrace that whispered of long-lost memories and unspoken secrets. It was as if the very air was charged with the echoes of our past, beckoning us to remember what once was and what could be again. My garden erupted in a riot of colours, each blossom a bold proclamation of life and beauty, a breathtaking spectacle that demanded attention. Cherry tomatoes, plump and round like marbles, glisten under the sun's fierce gaze. Lavender sways, alive with the frantic dance of bees, while fresh mint whispers promises of a refreshing morning tea. The booth at the market loomed larger than life, a colossal presence that had tripled in size, drawing the eyes of every passerby with an irresistible allure. In a twist of fate that sent shockwaves through the community, a local paper unveiled the haunting tale of the grandmother who mysteriously disappeared. The air was thick with intrigue, as curious souls from neighbouring towns flocked to my doorstep, drawn by the allure of my mugs and signs, desperate for a piece of the enigma. One bestseller read, "Forgive not to let them back in, but to liberate your own soul from the shackles of the past." Another cried out, "They hurled me into the depths of the lake." I returned, but not empty-handed, no. I arrived with a yacht, a symbol of my triumph and audacity. On the fateful day of my 75th birthday, the entire town conspired in a grand spectacle, orchestrating a surprise party that would forever be etched in the annals of my life. In a whirlwind of flour and sugar, Maggie conjured a cake that defied the ordinary, a masterpiece moulded into the very likeness of a suitcase, a symbol of journeys untold and adventures yet to unfold. In a stunning twist of fate, the mayor strode in, a figure of authority, and made a bold purchase, a declaration to honour the wisdom of our elders, or they'll tear apart the very fabric of the will itself. As the sun plunged beneath the horizon, casting shadows of fading light, I surveyed the scene, a whirlwind of clapping hands, fervent embraces, and bodies swaying to the rhythm of joy beneath the flickering string lights. They had transcended the ordinary bounds of mere neighbours, plunging into a realm of tangled fates and unspoken secrets. They stood as silent witnesses to the transformation of the woman I became, to the tumultuous life I dared to choose. That fateful night, I penned my last journal entry, a haunting farewell to the shadows that loomed over me. Dearest Grammy, you have not vanished into the shadows. In a moment that defied all odds, you emerged from the shadows, stepping into a realm where destiny had long awaited your return. Amidst a sea of faces, they gaze upon you with admiration, their laughter ringing in harmony, never a cruel jest, but a symphony of shared joy. You released the boy, the one who had lost the very essence of love itself, and you transformed into the woman who unearthed the very essence of existence. You remained untouched by the passage of time. You ascended to unimaginable power. With a heart full of passion, Judy,